Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining in today. We are back on the KCS Greenville sub. And today, mostly we're going to work on some of the area around Hughes Springs here, just kind of get this area laid out. So last time we did just kind of rough it in. This time we're going to actually get the details in there and start getting most of the scene put together. We will have a few things we don't get to just yet. We'll get to in the next one. But we're going to work on that and also work a bit more on the tracks. So I figured with this build this time around, I would probably kind of go scene by scene, probably take a video or two, sometimes maybe three if I need, to kind of get a scene complete. And then, move on to the next scene from there. I definitely know that kind of once I get a little bit of a palette together of assets I want to use, and I don't have to do as much guesswork, I figure I'll probably be able to build things a bit faster, so we'll be able to move through the layout at a pretty good clip. But just a refresher, this is a model railroad that's going to be put on the download station, so it's going to be for free. I am going to have some operating details that I will put out there for people to access, most likely for a fee. It will be a reasonable fee, but we'll get to that later once that stuff's actually ready. I have not even begun to really design any of that yet. But this is in East Texas. Right now, we're working on the town of Hughes Springs, and most of the area we're going to model is real. I did grab a lot of the industries between Greenville and Shreveport. I didn't actually reach Shreveport, and I didn't actually reach Greenville, so went for smaller industries. Really nothing past Jacksonville, Texas. Or, sorry, Jefferson, Texas, my bad. Sorry, wrong J-town. And then beyond that, we just, I kept the same industries. I'm going to do a little research on kind of what products they make and what cars they receive and ship and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to put those on there. We're definitely not going to do a foot-for-foot model of those. We're definitely going to use some compression and some artistic license, but we're going to communicate the general idea. And then I'm adding a fictional branch line that goes south to Longview that does not exist. It almost existed back in the 1920s. The branch line went from Longview north, and it almost made it into this area, but it got stopped short, and then by the 30s, it was abandoned. So you can still, in areas, find the right-of-way left over, but all the bridges and trestles and rails and ties are gone. It's just roadbed here and there. So, but this is Hughes Springs. I did use Google Maps to kind of get a bit of a feel for what the town looks like, even though I've visited the town a ton growing up because I grew up not too far from this area. I did want to still use Google Maps to try to get, a decent representation of what I'll be working with. So visiting the town a bunch and actually examining and studying the town are two very different feats. So hence why we're using Google Maps. But just kind of get the feel. I'm not using base maps to get exact placement of anything, just a general idea. So I also am not going to sit here and say that if you were to be from Hughes Springs, you'd look at this and be like, oh, wow, yeah, I totally recognize that. Not really. Not using any individual buildings that are, from the town. I'm definitely laying out the structure of the town about the same, but yeah, no custom assets. So everything will be on the download station or built in. I'm not going to use any payware or package stuff, but right now we're just getting the roads together. I did decide to go with the yarn roads. I don't want to bother with hand-laid roads on this one because it is just a model railroad, so I'm not really that picky about it. It is completely okay if you are that picky about it. I won't judge you for that. But I'm just not. Sadly, I tried to get a sidewalk asset that I liked that would fit that, and I just didn't find one. So I kind of messed with this a bit more to try to make it look good, and then eventually just walked away from it. So I don't think it looks terrible. But now it's about time to get everything set up here on the east side. Actually, this would be the south side of town. Sorry. So north is facing now kind of to the right, south is to the left. And so whenever you're facing the layout, east will always be to the right if you're looking at the track. So if you're standing from the aisle. We're going to go ahead and start getting everything set up here for TRC. I personally do prefer the TRC signals. I don't have an issue with the ATLS, but I just think the TRC signals look nicer. I did see there's a new feature here, and I wasn't quite sure what to do. Funny thing, I clicked that help box, and I was like, wait, I'll just do that later. So I'll go back off camera and, figure out what that is, and if I need to change it. Chances are I probably will not be changing it. But we're going to get the details laid out and get it all programmed up. The one thing I didn't do is test it yet, but I assume that everything's fine. I've set up plenty of TRC crossings. I don't think that I messed it up. So we're only going to have one of the signals to make any sort of sound. I don't really want to have 4 different bells going off at the same time. That's incredibly annoying. And then I did some thinking between this build and the last build and realized that even though the real life yard only has 7 tracks, I need to add 2 more. And that's because, once again, I'm operating a fictional branch line, and I need some space to accommodate the trains that are going to go on that branch line. And so since that branch line doesn't exist in the real world, they don't need these 2 tracks that I'm adding, but I need them. So I'm adding 2 tracks, breaking from the prototype just a bit, but I never endeavored to get an exact copy anyways. If I wanted an exact copy, then I would do a 1-to-1 layout, mile for mile. So I did also remember that last time I had made the yard too short. So I need the minimum track length to be about 1,500 feet. So converting that over to HO scale, I think it was like maybe 18 feet in HO scale, if I remember correctly. I'm guessing a bit there. But we're going to get that added in. And then I'm also going to make a good change in that the track that's closest to the main, I'm going to extend that out to about 3,000 feet, which is actually like the yard in real life. It does have basically a long siding there, the equivalent of what would be track 1 in the yard. So I am going to extend it out to accommodate the through trains. So all of our through trains are going to run at a maximum of 2,500 feet. Since it's HO scale, it's about, if you think about 10,000 foot trains, that's about a quarter. And then we're going to run any train on the division itself will just be run at 1,500 feet or less. So that's also about a quarter of a mile long train. So hopefully most trains, especially the locals, will not be anywhere near that long, but we will see once we get there. And I'll be using JMRI to set those operations up, but I'm not doing any of those operation setups here in this video. I know I did in the last video, but I'm not doing that in this one, mostly just because I wanted to work on getting the route itself actually put together, and the JMRI stuff can come back later. Plus, there's not really any new sort of material that the JMRI clips would add if I were to make them. So over here, I'm adding in a couple of tracks to store some locomotives. In the actual yard itself, in real life, they just store the locomotives on usually track 6 or 7, back closer toward the west end of the yard where the crew office is. And I'm going to have a yard that's usually pretty full, so I didn't want to store my engines there, so I'm adding in about 3 tracks for that. Hopefully, we won't ever really need this many tracks, but I want to have them available just in case, because I'm not sure yet how many locomotives I'm going to need. Once I figure that out, we can come back and delete some tracks if we need to. So I'm going to add the junctions later and the bumpers here at the end of the track, so we'll worry about that at another time, probably off camera. We'll see. I'm not sure how much I'm going to do on and off camera just yet. So on the next video, what I'd like to do is try to add up a few more details here in Hughes Springs and kind of get this area pretty much roughed in where I like it. Definitely not going to be super detailing here on the first run through, just getting everything together. And then I'll probably get most of the main details done and then get the release out, and then probably go back and, add some updates over time where I add in some more of the finer details. I did struggle here finding some good pine trees. East Texas is known for its immense amount of pine trees. So I realized not too long after I stopped videotaping, actually, I realized that I finally found what I needed. So I downloaded all those, and I will get those put in the next video. So for now, you're going to see me kind of add some of these fir or cypress looking trees. There are actually some of those out in East Texas, but usually mostly just around water. And so essentially, those are just going to get replaced later. So here I struggled way more than I'd like to admit trying to get this backdrop in. Should have done this off camera. It was quite annoying, but I finally got it in a place I like it. So still roughing everything in, but we're going to have full backdrops and a full room set up and all that good jazz. So lots more to come on this one. Stay tuned for that. But thank you guys for joining. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see the rest of this route get built or ask any questions. Just leave me a comment. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.